For more than a decade now, one single building has just completely dominated the world's skyline. It's a giant so tall, it almost feels like it's from the future. We are, of course, talking about the Burj Khalifa. But the real question isn't just how it got so tall. The real mystery is why, after all this time, no one has managed to build anything taller. So, what's the real story? Let's dig in. Okay, so get this. When the Burj Khalifa opened its doors back in 2009, it didn't just sneak past the old record holder, Chapey 101. No, it completely shattered the record, soaring a mind-boggling 62% higher. I mean, think about that for a second. Most height records in history were broken by maybe 5, 10%. This was a statement. This was a whole different ballgame. And that right there is the big mystery we're tackling today. It has been over a decade. We've seen some absolutely incredible leaps in technology, right? Yet this record is still standing, untouched. So why is it so ridiculously hard to top this one amazing feat of engineering? To really get why the Burj Khalifa is such an outlier, we gotta rewind the clock a bit. This race to build higher and higher isn't some new thing. It's a human obsession, and it stretches back for literally thousands of years. For almost 4,000 years, just let that sink in, the Great Pyramid of Giza was the tallest thing humans had ever built. After that, for centuries, records were broken by these tiny little margins, from massive cathedrals to the very first skyscraper in Chicago. Even when we got into the modern era, the jumps were pretty steady, pretty incremental. And then, 2009 happened. I mean, just look at that last jump on the timeline, from Taipei 101 to the Burj Khalifa. It's not just the next step, it's a quantum leap. And here's the thing. This was not an accident. Not at all. The creators behind it said it themselves. They realized, hey, we don't have to just nudge the record up a little bit. We can, as they said, break it by a big margin. This was a power move, plain and simple. It was designed to create a gap so massive, it would make anyone else think twice before even trying to compete. So how in the world did they pull this off? Well, it wasn't just one magic bullet. It was more like a perfect storm of incredible ambition, shrewd economics, and some truly revolutionary engineering. Let's start breaking down the secrets behind the Khalifa. Now, you might think this was all about ego, right? Just building the biggest thing. But the primary driver was actually a super calculated economic plan. Dubai's leaders knew they needed to shift their economy away from oil. Their strategy? To become a global hub for tourism and business. And their tactic was bold. Create a centerpiece so famous, so unmissable, that the world would have to pay attention. You can almost think of the Burj Khalifa as a $1.5 billion billboard for the city of Dubai. And it worked. The investment paid for itself as the property values all around it just shot through the roof. But all the ambition in the world won't hold up a building this tall. You need the right tech. And this right here was the secret weapon, the buttressed core. The easiest way to picture it is like a giant three-legged tripod. You have these three wings that connect to a super strong hexagonal core in the middle. This shape gives it incredible stability, not just against its own crushing weight, but against the powerful winds you find way up there. And just how genius is this design? Well, let me put it this way. If you look at other really tall skyscrapers, like 43 Park Avenue in New York, that building literally has to have completely empty floors just to let the wind pass through so it doesn't get damaged. But the Burj Khalifa's Y shape is naturally aerodynamic. It basically confuses the wind, preventing it from creating dangerous vibrations. It's what allowed it to soar to heights that people thought were impossible. All right, so we get how the Burj Khalifa was possible. But that just brings us right back to our original, even more puzzling question. Why is it so incredibly hard for anyone else to go even higher? Well, the first big hurdle is just pure physics. The higher you build, the more colossal weight the base has to support. You're in a constant battle with gravity, and at those kinds of altitudes, you're dealing with some seriously powerful hurricane-force winds. We are pushing the absolute limits of what materials like concrete and steel can even do. Now, here's a problem you probably never even thought about: our own bodies. Imagine a building that's, say, 2 kilometers tall. If you took a super fast elevator straight to the top, you could actually get altitude sickness. We're talking nausea, dizziness, the whole deal. The only real solution would be to fully pressurize the entire building, like an airplane cabin, which is just astronomically expensive. But at the end of the day, the biggest barrier isn't engineering and it isn't biology. It all comes down to this one simple, brutal question. Who is going to pay for this thing, and why? What's the economic reason to do it?
A project like this takes a truly monumental amount of money. The Burj Khalifa cost $1.5 billion. That's 3 times the cost of a typical super tall skyscraper. That is a gigantic risk for any government or investor to take, especially when there's absolutely no guarantee you'll get the same kind of economic boom that Dubai saw.
And honestly, the whole world's attitude is kind of shifted. This quote, which is about China's new 500-meter height limit for buildings, really says it all. A lot of governments now see these megatall buildings as just vanity projects, a waste of money, a waste of resources, and a huge drain on energy. That unique build it and they will come moment that Dubai seized in the 2000s, that's just much, much rarer today. So, with all these massive challenges stacked against it, what does the future hold? Let's take a quick look at the contenders, the ones who have tried and so far failed to claim the crown. Oh, people have tried, for sure. There have been some incredibly ambitious projects announced. The Jeddah Tower in Saudi Arabia was supposed to be the first building to break the 1-kilometer mark. Dubai even planned its own successor, the Dubai Creek Tower. But if you look at that current status column, yep, construction on both has been stopped for years, mostly due to funding issues. And other wild ideas like Tokyo's futuristic Sky Mile Tower are still pretty much just a concept on a drawing board. So what's the final verdict? What's the real takeaway here? Well, the biggest barrier to building a taller building isn't technology. We could, theoretically, build higher right now. The real barrier is trying to replicate that unique, once-in-a-generation cocktail of factors that created the Burj Khalifa. That perfect blend of immense national ambition, a very specific economic strategy, and the perfect global financial climate to back it all up. And that kind of leaves us with one last big thought. We've proven that we can build higher. But in a world that's facing so many other complex challenges, maybe the more important question to ask is, should we?